Angela Bellegarde is going to perform the smudging and land acknowledgement. Angela?
Thank you. Hi everybody, and thank you so much for having me here today. As Mayor Burton said, I'm Angela Bellegarde. I'm a band member of Papixi's Cree First Nation in Treaty 4 area. So I am indeed, like all of us here today, a visitor on this land. We're on Treaty 22 and Treaty 14 land, in case you may not have known that. And if you didn't, I would ask you all to take some time to go and understand what that means to be on treaty land. The thing about land acknowledgements is you may be familiar with them being few words from the podium. Something that's been read. That's not how I do land acknowledgements. As a First Nations person, I give thanks to the land every day for all the gifts that it gives us. So what I'd like to do today is invite you to listen to my land acknowledgement, because I want you to see how they need to be authentic. And so I'd welcome each and every one of you to think about the next time you have the opportunity to do land acknowledgement and do it in a new way, an authentic way. So what I'd like to say today is that it's important when we do land acknowledgements to not just acknowledge the people that were on this land. It's important to acknowledge the land. And I would ask all of you right now to take a moment in this beautiful setting to think about what this land means to you. We are dedicating a park today. What does that mean to you? How about the land that you traveled over to get here today? What does that land mean to you? How many of you drove down Bronte Road and saw a magnificent tree in the middle? How often do you stop and think about the age of that tree and how it was here for so many years before us? And I ask you today, when you're thinking about the land, to think about what this land looked like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, which was in the 1900s, actually, not the 1800s like I'm used to thinking. And what did this land look like 500 years ago? Reflect on that. Think about how we came from there to here, at this amazing spot to honor an amazing person. And what do we want this land to look like 10 years from now? We have some youth in the crowd here, little people. What do we want this land, this park to look like 50 years, 100 years, and 500 years? Because it is incumbent on all of us to make sure that this land is cared for those younger generations. And many of you don't know the 7 generations teachings, that those who have come 7 generations before us have left this land and left us teachings, and it's up to us to make sure that we care for this land 7 generations to come. We are here to honor an incredible person who I didn't know personally, but I started to learn through the privileged eyes of her son, Andrew. And that's when I started to wonder, who is this person that we get to honor through dedication of a land? You know, we talk about the land as Mother Earth. And to Indigenous people, that is meaningful. It's not a trope. It's meaningful. And I did smudge the plaque. I smudged around the area to cleanse this and to open our hearts and to be open to what is happening here today, and start us off in a really good way. The land cares for each one of us. It gives us gifts. It nurtures us. And it doesn't take a lot to figure out the connection between Veronica Tyrrell and the land. You know, the land is inclusive. Look at everybody here today. We're a diverse background. Diverse people living in Oakville. The land doesn't discriminate. We're all here. And I would hazard a guess that that was a big part of your mother's work, Andrew. We know that this land nurtures us. It gives to us what we need. And I would think that your mother was a nurturer, not only to her family, but I suspect in the hundreds of babies she brought into this world, and to promote nurturing for others through midwifery and through embodiment of caring for others. And that is what this land means, because we learn from this land, and we have such a role model in this person, Veronica Tyrrell. What an honor, and I wish that I could have known her in person. I feel privileged to have known her through the beginning, through you, Andrew, and in the research and what I've done to be able to come and do a meaningful land acknowledgement for you. And before I end, I'd like to just say that we are all visitors on this land. We know from time immemorial, not archaeological evidence, but time immemorial, that this was Indigenous people's lands. We know the Haudenosaunee lived here. We know the Wendat lived here. We know that the Mississaugas lived here. And I know my people from Treaty 4 and Treaty 6 have also come down and been in this area. So this is the land of many, and right now there's diverse people living here in Oakville on this land. Diverse nations, including non-Indigenous nations, but let's also remember the Métis Nation as well, who are now here and live and play. And with that, I'd like to especially acknowledge the treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations, who Mayor Burton has fostered and nurtured an amazing relationship, and that cannot be, that is so important, and not many have done that, so kudos to you. And let's remember that as treaty holders, you are treaty people. You are treaty land, making you all treaty Canadians. And what does that mean to you? So with that, I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to say in the land of my people, hi hi, and Miigwech in the land of the Anishinaabe. And as we go forward, let us remember that this land is named after somebody who embodies this land and earth. And go away today and keep that in mind, what this land means to all of us. So thank you.
Angela, thank you very much. When we did the smudge together, you said that it would bring out the best from within, and it surely did. Thank you very much. The purpose here is to make good on an instinct that Council and I had 4 years ago, and was interrupted by a inconvenient experience that we call the pandemic. And I know I'm not supposed to say it's over, and I don't want to be taken for saying it's over, but we feel a little more relaxed, and we feel relaxed enough to gather together finally to do this important step. I have a proclamation to read in honor of the occasion. We have elected officials who will be speaking. Pam Damoff, the Member of Parliament for Oakville, North Burlington. I will substitute for the Member of Provincial Parliament, Stephen Crawford, who couldn't be here today, to read a certificate that he has provided. And the Chair of Halton Region for the last 16 years, Gary Carr, one of the most famous and long-enduring leaders of our community, if you think. It goes back to the 90s, right, Gary? He will close up the speaking from the elected officials. John Campbell is going to play music. Andrew and I are going to unveil the plaque that will be mounted here on a pedestal on Monday. And it's going to take both of us because it's a big, heavy little plaque. But we will hold it up for you, and we hope you will be pleased with it. And with that, I'd like to share with you the words of the mayoral proclamation for today. Whereas Veronica Tyrrell contributed to the importance of an inclusive community within Oakville and beyond, and whereas Veronica Tyrrell communicated that it was important for residents to allow all individuals to be respected and to enjoy the contributions that all cultures can bring, and whereas Veronica Tyrrell worked with individuals and organizations to create and strengthen a commitment to work towards equity, the removal of social injustice, and promoted harmonious community relationships through providing services and educational opportunities. And whereas Veronica Tyrrell, along with many colleagues, worked through the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton, beginning with not-for-profit status and since 2000 as a registered charity, to provide a framework representing a culture of origin, but accepting all, reaching out to others, to join with them in programs and working together within the community to always be making us better. And whereas Veronica Tyrrell saw the importance of acknowledging Emancipation Day in Oakville as an important part of Oakville's history and the contributions through the Underground Railroad to our community, and with the encouragement and support of myself, we reestablished Oakville's traditional Emancipation Day picnic as an official town event 16 years ago. And whereas Veronica Tyrrell worked with the Halton Regional Police Service, Halton Multicultural Council, the United Way, and local boards on diversity, inclusion, and equity programs, and they continue to be a part of many organizations along with our community at large. And whereas the town of Oakville is committed to be a place where the rights and freedoms of all are respected, protected, and celebrated, and whereas within the town of Oakville, we recognize the contributions of all citizens of all citizens to our rich heritage of diversity in shaping our community, and we encourage all residents to celebrate our diversity and inclusion and to help build it. I therefore now proclaim August 27th, 2022 as Veronica Tyrrell Day in Oakville. I'd like to acknowledge that there are other members of Parliament, former members of Parliament here to show their support and respect as I prepare to call up our speaker, Member of Parliament Pam Damoff, representing Oakville, North Burlington. My good friend Bonnie Brown, thank you for being here. And Indira Naidu-Harris, where did you go? Oh, there you are, in the shade, of course, okay. Many members of council have joined us here today as well. And I would like them to join Andrew and me when we hoist the plaque, and I hope enjoy your reaction to it. MP Damoff, would you please share your words with us?
Thanks, Mayor. Is the mic working?
Yes, it does.
I'm going to use the mic just to make sure everybody can hear. Thanks, everybody, for being here. You know, Angela, you talked about the land. 5 years ago, this wasn't even here. None of this. In fact, 2 years ago, I don't even know that it was here. I think it's really appropriate that the park that is honoring my friend Veronica Tyrrell is located in the most diverse area of Oakville. And it speaks a lot to Veronica and the way that she worked. The mayor recently reminded me for 40 years to ensure that our community was equitable, and working with the Halton Police Service. For those who didn't know Veronica, she was truly an exceptional woman. I can't even find the words to describe her, and those of you who did know her know what I'm talking about. She was tireless. storing these steel pans at her house until Lloyd said, no, we have to get them out of here. And we wouldn't have the steel pan band if it wasn't for Veronica. Now I see they're playing everywhere, including at my Canada Day event that I had with Councillor Jeff Knoll. So it's wonderful for all of you to be here to honor Veronica. I can't wait to come back to this park and see the kids playing here. And many of them will probably say, why is it called Veronica Tyrrell Park? And maybe some of them will go home and look her up and just see what an incredible, incredible woman she was. So Andrew, it's got to be emotional for you today. I know this has been in the works for a long time, but this is something that your mom sure deserves. And for years and years, long after we're gone, people will still be coming and playing in Veronica Tyrrell Park, and your mom will be honored forever now. So thank you, Mayor. Oh, and I forgot something, sorry. Anita Anand, the MP for Oakville, asked me to pass along her regrets that she couldn't be here because she really wanted to, so I wanted to make sure not to forget that. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, MP DeMoff. I'm going to rely on my belief that I have a soccer field voice because I can't read this and hold the mic at the same time. If you have trouble in back, just come closer. We're friendly up here. This is from Stephen Crawford, our Member of Provincial Parliament. On behalf of the Government of Ontario and as a member of Provincial Parliament for Oakville, it is my great pleasure to honor the memory of the late Veronica Tyrrell on the dedication of Veronica Tyrrell Park. Veronica was a remarkable woman who established and led the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton and diligently supported multiculturalism and Black History Month. Significantly, she is also warmly remembered for her dedication in engaging and deeply influencing youth. Veronica was a woman of fortitude and courage and will live forever in our hearts. Stephen Crawford, MPP, Oakville. And I want to, yes. And now, with a great deal of pleasure, I call to the podium my good friend and 16-year colleague in the Regional Municipality of Halton, our chair, Gary Carr.
Thank you so much, Rob. I'm going to use this as well if I could. I have a pretty good voice, but I'm going to use this. When I was first elected in 1990, there was a great, wonderful man that was the Deputy Premier and the Minister of Treasury at the time, Floyd Logren. And one day in the House, I was yelling across at him. This was before I became a speaker and got well behaved. And he said, "Gary, why do you always yell at me?" And I said, "What do you want, Floyd? I was a backup goalie. I used to sit on the bench. That was my job, to yell at the other players." So I don't have exactly the best voice, but it can carry a little bit when it's in the House. I'm so honored and pleased to be here today for a number of reasons, not the least of which is to see all of our old friends and colleagues. You know, Rob and all of our councillors and Indira and certainly Bonnie, we used to have, going to events, some of our best times wasn't actually at the formal part of the events. It was seeing each other and doing all of the networking you got to do. And today, fortunately, Rob, with this, we've got a chance to come out and see some of our old colleagues. We have some good stories. Bonnie and I have something that we do together. Remember this, Bonnie? At the Bronte Legion, we were doing that at one night, and my wife Teresa said, my face is sore from laughing when Bonnie and I did that. So, and the reason I mention that is because when I would go and visit with Veronica, we would go over to her house and have a cup of coffee, and she would talk federal, she would talk provincial, she would talk local politics, regional politics, healthcare. She always would give us her thoughts. She would always tell us respectfully what she would like to see done. But also, what I remember about him, and it's kind of ironic too, because I know Max Khan's away, the street is up there. And what I remember about her, and actually Max as well, is the big smiles on their face. They never, ever got mad. Even though the issues were sometimes very important and very stressful, they always were happy when they were dealing with us, and that's something that I think we all should learn. I also had the opportunity, and of course we got the former Chief Gary with the Halton Regional Police here, and I was on the police board with Andrew. So the next generation began to serve, and we had a wonderful time on those police board meetings. Pavin's now on the police board. I said to Andrew earlier, Gary, the police board meetings go for about, it seems like 3 days now, but we had shorter meetings, Gary, but we got a lot done. So I got to know you there and the family. And the one thing that I do know about Veronica more than anything else is family came first. And when we talk about all those issues that we were dealing with and all those things, we would always, I would always ask how the family was doing. She'd give you all the details of what was happening. So I'm so honored and pleased to be here today. Just before, and I've got a plaque as well, I wanted to leave you with a quote, because I think it sums up what Veronica was all about. She was a leader going back years in trying to bring our communities together and be inclusive. And she did that, and she continued to do that through all of the people that she mentored along the way. And I think that's going to be the big legacy, the people that she had mentored. So many people say, I learned that from her. So it's going to go on and on and on, so that these young people, like Sean's young family there, have a great community to live in. So the quote is this. It doesn't matter who it was somebody famous. But I guess they're all famous if they quote them. I never get quoted. Inclusiveness is not bringing people into what already exists. It's making new space and better space for everybody. And that's what she did. So on behalf of Halton Regional Council, and I know I can say all of the people of Halton that dealt with her, I'd like to be able to, you grab that for me, Thank you so much, Mayor. I've got a certificate of dedication that I'd like to give to you as well, so that you can remember us by. And thank you so much. All of the people of Halton are so proud and honored for the great work that you did. God bless you and keep up the great work, sir.
Thanks, Renee. It's okay. Let it go.
You want to litter one of your parks there, Mayor?
All right. Thank you, Gary, for those great words. We're now going to call on John Campbell, who's no stranger to our town, to provide us with a little musical interlude, and then Andrew and I and council are going to hoist this plaque, and I'll read it to you. And I want you to listen to the words, because the question that MP DeMoff posed will be answered by the plaque. The kids who play here, they will see in a few well-chosen words why this plaque is here and why this park is named for her. John, take it away.
I'm going to sing a song called Lift Every Voice. Excuse the reverb there. I had, what a beautiful day, and what a wonderful opportunity to honor such an amazing woman. And on this day, I had the privilege, as being an artist, to many times meet with and be hired by Veronica Tyrrell. And the song I've chosen to sing is a song called Lift Every Voice and Sing. It's often called the Black National Anthem, and it's written by James Weldon Johnson. When I think of Veronica, I think of such an incredible human being. But for me and my family, as Black people, she is a hero in our community. She's a person that transcends all excuses, and she's a person that inspires the best of us. And so that's why I feel this is a song appropriate to sing. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring with the harmony Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for John Campbell. I have a daughter who's a professional musician. She's trained me. You have to recognize the talent. All right, it's now my pleasure to invite the counselor for the town and the region of Halton, who represents this area, Pavan Parmer, to come to the podium and share her thoughts on this occasion.
Year after year, Veronica Tyrrell worked tirelessly, not only to deepen our knowledge of Black history, but as well to make our community a more belonging place for all. Her commitment to diversity and inclusion taught us the importance of placing those two values at the core of everything we do in making Oakville a better place. Together, they bring us pride, strength, and unity. Ms. Tyrrell paved the way for those of us who follow. Her dedication to people and her community lives on in this park. I'm proud to see Ward 7 host a living tribute to such an inspiring woman. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you very much, Councillor Parmer. The next order of business is to reveal the plaque and share its words with you. And I've asked the council members here to come and join Andrew and me as we hoist this thing up for you. And yes, that will facilitate a photographer to get a candid shot of the occasion. And what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Andrew, let Andrew. Yeah. All right. So it reads, Veronica Tyrrell was an exemplary community leader with a generous spirit. She stepped outside of expectations and the status quo to explore new possibilities for community development through partnerships to deepen our community's knowledge of the experiences and contributions made by Black Canadians. In turn, she taught us to celebrate the many cultures that make Oakville the diverse town that it is today. The subtlety of her ways taught us so much about true kindness. Sean, you can. Yep. Thanks. Veronica Tyrrell's tireless dedication, admirable leadership, and commitment to inclusion set a strong example for others to follow as she served as the longtime president of the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton and worked closely with the Halton Regional Police Service, Halton Multicultural Council, United Way and sat as a director on many local boards. Her positive and bright influence remained pivotal during her work towards the preservation of Caribbean and African culture and performing arts in Canada, as she strongly advocated for youth engagement, senior citizen recreational activities, and the creation of teacher and curriculum resources. She had an all-encompassing vision. Veronica Tyrrell led her community with gracious goodwill in the pursuit of harmony among neighbors, developing new and successful projects that flourished under her guidance: the Roots of Freedom Festival, youth leadership program workshops, wide-ranging race relation committees, and annual Black History Month celebrations. She was the recipient of many honors, including the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. Her selfless commitment to fostering inclusivity, acceptance, and social change has empowered, energized, and encouraged the next generations. Ladies and gentlemen, Veronica Tyrrell. So just back up a little bit. It's now my pleasure to deliver to you the proof of how successful Veronica Tyrrell has been. For in her son Andrew, she has raised a champion who so far, in the 4 years since her passing, he's already lifted the organization higher. And that means that we can give him our high expectations and our high hopes for future accomplishment and success. Andrew?
Thank you, thank you. Yeah. Wow, look at everybody here. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is fantastic. I get a better perspective, a different perspective here. Well, my son's birthday is on August the 23rd, and Veronica Tyrrell Day is on August the 27th, and my birthday is on August the 30th. So that's going to be one full week of partying, I tell you. Thank you to the mayor and town council. This is really something special. And it actually brings me back to the first conversation that I had with Mayor Burton when my mom passed away. I said to him that the last time I spent time with my mom was the same day that she passed away. And I know now that we spoke about her 3 loves in life. The ccah was something that we talked about. Her family was definitely something that we talked about. And Oakville was definitely something that we talked about. And in talking about Oakville, she said, that mayor, he is a good man. And this is truly a gift, and she was right. Mayor Burton, you are a good man. This is truly a gift to my family, and I'm proud that my mom's legacy as a Black woman is now permanently entrenched into Oakville history. My mom, as many of you know, never sought out awards, although she received many. She always preached to me, it doesn't matter who gets the credit, and I guess that's why she didn't have social media. She says, it doesn't matter who gets the credit, just as long as it gets done. However, I can't help but mention another person who is really key to all of this, and he hasn't gotten any recognition. And that is my dad, Lloyd Tyrrell. So I guess, as in life, my dear father is getting outshined by my mom yet again. During Mom's involvement with the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton, Dad was there as the cook, bartender, running errands, waking up kids out of their bed to go to the youth leadership workshops, and doing whatever it took to have Mom's programs succeed. Yes, he was a husband of over 50 years, and I've since heard the mention of this notion of him doing everything that he did out of marital obligation. And to me, that notion, if any of you know my dad, is complete and utter nonsense. He was Mom's best friend. He loved and cared for her and was willing to do whatever task or job was necessary for her to do whatever she needed to do and to succeed at whatever was important to her. He was standing right by her side. As Rob said, I've been the CCH president since 2019, and I guess I was voted reluctantly. It took a while for them to convince me.
Is there a vote?
And in those short years, we've accomplished a lot. But I know that whatever we've done is a result of two things. First, CCH and all the other Black-led organizations that are here today being represented are standing on the shoulders of those people who fought hard to put us in this position to succeed. We must never forget that. Without them, none of this would be possible. And secondly, like my mom, I have to have a strong team behind me and a person beside me who is there supporting me as we all move this organization forward. Anne-Marie was also there helping me take care of my parents as they aged and fell ill and needed us most. She had them over for Sunday dinners, and it was not out of marital obligation. No, not at all. She loved and cared for them as if they were her own parents. I'd like us all to give a round of applause for Anne-Marie. And she stayed up all last night to do those 250 gifts over there that everybody has to get. And she did that without complaint. She did it without help. And she's happy to do that and do more. I also want to acknowledge Andrew. Where is Andrew? Put your hand up there, Andrew. So that's Veronica's grandchild. And she's passed on the spirit of giving back to the community. Andrew was involved in a meals program that we had, and he was the Oakville Depot captain. And Brandon, who's in Edmonton, he's not here today, but he was in Amazon Canada doing their Black History Month and Juneteenth event. So they are the next generation for sure. She's passed her spirit on to both of them. Since Mom died, I've heard many stories from people about how she really touched their lives. What I want you to remember today is not what she said to you, but it's how she made you feel. You felt comforted, loved, and cared for, and that you mattered to her. Regardless of being white, black, yellow, brown, beige, a youth, a young adult, or someone older, or a senior, she made you feel that you mattered, your opinion counted, and you were part of a community that you belonged to. It's that sense of belonging, the feeling of being included, regardless of your race, color, culture, upbringing, status, creed, or sexual orientation, That is what we are here celebrating here today. My mom wanted everyone to know the importance of contributions of Black Canadians, and she piloted many school programs because she felt that Black history is Canadian history. She wanted each and every person to be valued, but she was by no means a person who would close her eyes to racism or discrimination. She was at the peak of her working life in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and she has countless stories of how her skin color was an impediment to promotions. But she fought as hard as she could against systemic racism, and by being a woman, she had to fight even harder. And as the president of the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton, she fought for things we now take for granted, such as community policing and the lovely Black heritage cruiser that we have there. She fought for the Halton Multicultural Council and its newcomer programs, people of color being represented on a number of boards, including the United Way, and other boards in around Halton. And she fought for sustainable funding from all levels of government for frontline community work. It's that community work where we help those people who struggle. And we give people a sense of belonging and a sense of community. But there's still much more work to be done. Recently, as I was celebrating one of our CCH programs, a politician who I deeply respect said to me, "The only reason why you received that funding was because you played the race card." Well, look at me. Race cards are all that I have. And it's not one card, it's the whole deck. My cards are all black, and the card game that I am playing is unfair. And the odds are stacked against me, but I will not take up my cards and go home and cry. And I will not do that even if I lose. What I will do is I will continue to play cards, and I will play cards with you in the hope of one day we'll be playing a fair game. And you will see me as an equal, and we will become friends. Rob Burton, thank you for your leadership in giving this day and this park to my family. I remember shortly after my mom passed away, I asked you about what the process was for me to have a park bench in Oakville dedicated to Mom. And Rob said to me, "Andrew, I think we can do better than that. Please leave it with me." And look what he's done. Mom was right, you are a good man, and we have become friends. And to everyone, thank you for being here today to celebrate. I want you all to keep Veronica Tyrrell, my mom, my mother, community builder, strong, Black, proud woman, your dear friend. Keep her in your heart, and remember, the last sentence that's inscribed in that plaque reads, "Her selfless commitment to fostering inclusivity, acceptance, and social change has empowered, energized, and encouraged the next generations." Let's be inclusive and embrace our diversity as a strength, and celebrate the many cultures that make Oakville the diverse town that it is today, and the best place in the world to live, work, play, raise a family, and retire. And I'll just add a little bit more to that tagline. And in the case of both of my parents, who are just over there on 9th Line in the Glen Oak Cemetery, not too far from here, Oakville is also the best place in the world to be laid to rest as a very proud Canadian. Those of you who have flags, let's wave our flag. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
People, stand up, stand up. Andrew, the best speech I've ever heard in my life. I'm not going to say another word. Thank you, everybody, for making this possible. God, we love each other, and let's keep that going. There's nothing but success ahead for this town. All we have to do is keep working together. Thank you, everybody.